All right, this is one half or 2/3 of the Comedian Roundtable on the Poor Sports Seattle podcast. Andrew Rivers, who you can find at Andrew J. Rivers or Rivers J. Andrew, I think, on Twitter now.
That's my burner account. Don't give that out.
Oh, no.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, same amount of engagement as your other account.
I know. That's why I nuked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just me replying to Kevin Durant tweets going, this guy's the greatest.
We're going to talk about the Hard Knocks episode that came out yesterday. But before we do, Andrew, you're at Charlie's in Puyallup on Saturday. I know that because it's a gig that I had to cancel that you took my spot on, thankfully.
Hey, it is not often that Casey leaves leftovers, but I'm happy to take them. That's a fat joke for people.
It is a fat joke. I'll be in Washington. Say it again.
He's lost 11 pounds, so.
Oh, take it easy. The world doesn't need to know this. I'm still fat on camera, so. And then what next? I'll be at the Tin Room Bar in Burien on the 22nd. You'll also be there. It's a show that you're booking, and I think that's. I'll be in Bothell at Laugh Tech show. Can't remember the venue, and I'm headlining the Cornucopia Comedy Club in Chehalis on September 19th. Also, another charity gig you got me. That I don't know. I like a charity gig where they're going to pay me money and I'm not going to feel obligated to give it back to them. That's nice. And I don't know if that's open to the public, but if it is, it's in North Bend or Snoqualmie.
Yeah. Somewhere out there.
All right. So Hard Knocks episode 2. I talked about episode 1 last week. The immediate thing, like moment 1 of like the stinger before it goes on. They're making Derick Hall a scapegoat like early, and it's possible they're already setting him up for a redemption arc. They're obviously like a couple weeks ahead filming, but it's like, what did they say? They said because it was Fan Fest last weekend because they said something that was like they're preparing for the preseason game that's a week away, and that was the festivities on what day? Like on Sunday? So were they 2 days behind on? I had my calendar up for plugs, so that would have been last Saturday. So it came on Tuesday. So that's 2 days. 2 days ago is when they filmed the most recent thing. We think they could have an arc plan for Derick Hall especially because you know his story a little bit. He's like born premature and didn't he comes out 2 pounds 9 ounces. And then he's built like a fucking Adonis now, and incredibly
overcompensate much.
Yeah, dude, that truck is crazy. By the way, like that. I know you went from a Prius to a Tesla, so you're not exactly like in the lifted truck game. That so impractical, and they even had him.
He
literally
lives in like a tiny Kirkland neighborhood. It looks like where it's like the thing. His driveway is on a slope and he's backing out. He's like, oh, I got it stuck in that ditch over there last year. I'm like, you have a monster truck with airbags that can't even get out of a routine neighborhood ditch? Like,
it's also so funny because I remember like the lifted trucks or the cars on hydraulics back in our day when we were banging. Now he's got an app to lower his truck. That's what a great anti-theft device is. Like, just make the truck so tall that you're like, well, the suspect pool is the 1% of population because nobody else can reach the step bars.
6'3", and his head is like underneath the wheel to like, you know.
he doesn't need a
typical. Yeah.
They have those creepers. Not, by the way, when I say creeper, I'm not talking about what every woman that meets you calls you. I'm talking about the thing that rolls under a car. They have he doesn't need that. He can like stand under that truck. And every time he gets out of it or into it, you know what I thought about is like, if you go to practice, you pull that thing up to practice. If you get injured that day, that car's not coming home for like months. You're like, you can't even tow that thing.
Get on your crutches and then you gotta throw yourself up. Yeah, even as is, he's like, you can hear him kind of grunting as he He's got to pull himself
Yeah.
up to get in there.
Yeah, you need
And
the
then he,
full
like-
flexibility of your hamstrings to get in there.
Yeah, he lowered it, but like only on one side. And he's like, building a truck is easy. I'm like, I don't think your car works the way you are supposed to work. But
What was your reaction? Because that was like, I believe, the first scene of episode 1. But so
Yeah.
they show the truck and they don't reveal whose it is. What,
I had
as
heard
you
about
see
his fetish beforehand.
Oh, gotcha.
so
His fetish. Okay.
I was spoiled already.
Gotcha. So yeah, I was like, literally, I'm like, this is gonna be the smallest dick motherfucker coming out of this truck. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
Yeah. If it was like one of the white DBs, you could make a dick joke, but I don't think I'm gonna call Derick Hall.
No, I'm just assuming it's Ty Okada's truck and Derick Hall's borrowing it. You know.
Well, he's got like 7 trucks or something like this, I think, is what he says.
That's amazing.
Because he did an interview where he like drove one of them from, I want to say, Atlanta all the way. I'm like, that's a whole trip, but
I used to
that's
have
pretty cool.
when I shortly after I graduated high school, I bought a 1988 Toyota pickup that was lifted already. I didn't lift it, and I drove it for like a month, and the head gasket blew, and then I never really drove it consistently again after that. But I remember it didn't have power steering and it had big ass tires, and I just remember when the head gasket blew, and I had finally just like resigned myself to I was going to buy a different vehicle. I was like, thank God, because that was such a pain in the ass to drive that truck. Like it was very difficult with no power steering, and it was just so impractical. And that was a Toyota. He's driving. I think it's a Chevy or a Ford, but it's probably double the footprint of my Toyota. And they showed it like it barely fits in the lanes. Yeah. I did. Do you think he actually drinks coffee, or is that fully a bit to go to the coffee shop?
No, because I'm glad you pointed that out, because his order was just give me whatever the last people got, I think, right?
She goes, that was an iced latte. He goes, yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah, just one of those.
Yeah, that's,
also, if you see him at practice, energy doesn't seem to be the issue. Effort.
Well, and also,
maybe the iced coffee put him over the edge.
Espresso drinkers in the Seattle area are known for their very simple, no frills orders. There's certainly not a million pumps of everything going into them. Nobody's drink is very specific. It's like, just give me whatever's good today. Yeah, so that's the other part is like,
and he didn't even do a pay it forward. Hey, let me buy the next person's drink for making them. My exhaust pipe is right in their in their front window.
Yeah, that was what. Well, he also had to find one that didn't have an overhang because the truck couldn't go under the overhang.
Why didn't they show any bikini baristas? I mean, if they're trying to really capture the wildlife in Seattle, they could have got a chick in a Hooters outfit and
that's true.
Helped out a small business. You
gotta get on the production team for the next Seahawks Hard Knocks.
HBO aren't they the people that do the Sydney Sweeney Gets Naked show? I forget what it's called, but
is that Euphoria?
Yeah.
I've never watched an episode of Euphoria, not just for the bit.
Yes, also on HBO Max. I have heard about it.
I do like the idea of you're like running the Hard Knocks documentary production team, and they're like, "Yeah, we're in Nashville," and you're like, "Got any bikini barista stands out here? Because we really ought to show what it's like, the wildlife."
Let's go to a honky tonk country bar and find an aspiring singer. Well, they spent 7 minutes on zoomed in on Sam Darnold's spiral. I assume we've got some room to.
I know. By the way, the I've never watched like the full season of Hard Knocks, and I've never really watched until the last couple of years. Really watched it at all. But it is funny where they fill 40 minutes, but you're like, yeah, there was two like multiple like 240 frames per second slow motion of the one was like a 40-yard pass. You're like, it's like a screensaver on my TV right now. Like that was crazy.
I was like, did I freeze? What's going? Yeah. Instead of the apple spinning on your computer, it's the spiral.
I do think that's a thing that we forget about Sam Darnold, though, is like he had a lot of arm talent. Now he's like got this persona as like this spread zone, modern West Coast offense game manager. And he is that. That stuff is true, but he also does have like, high level arm talent even for a pro. That I do think it's interesting. I like Cooper Kupp talking about the spin rate because he's like, I don't know, I thought it was too fast or too much spinning was bad, but I don't know. And I feel like that's the general vibe of this is the vibe, by the way, that analytics I think should have with the players. To me, analytics are used best when it's like talent evaluation and not necessarily. I do think in baseball even sometimes it's like guys get a little too obsessed with like, ooh, what was my exact launch angle, as opposed to going like, well, this guy strikes a lot of batters out. His ERA is bad, but he's got a lot of strikeouts, or he does. The Mariners used to be good at this, and the Astros used to be incredible at this, which is finding guys with high spin rate pitches. The Astros would then put pine tar on the ball and make that spin rate go even further up. But
maybe that's what Sam Darnold is doing. He's got the goop on his hands.
Yeah, that's but I do think like the idea that these guys can actually think through those analytics effectively while they're playing at full speed is like, I just don't think it's that realistic. Giving them the information's good, and maybe somewhere in their subconscious they make a decision based on it, but making that like a full practice, like a common practice of theirs seems just like kind of
I was doing more research on spin rates after that, just because I was like, that's kind of an interesting, is that indicative of anything? But then you find like, I think it was like Kenny Pickett had a high spit rate, and then like Kyle McCord and like all these nobody quarterbacks, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not necessarily indicative of success and control over the actual pass. But there was a clip that resurfaced of Josh Allen complimenting Sam Darnold's passing, which was interesting, where they were like, who's the best thrower? And he said, Sam Darnold spins the piss out of the ball. And that was pretty cool, and they showed him on the Vikings. Do you think Kyler Murray has a resurgence, going to the Vikings here? Is that
I think Kyler Murray is the real test.
We've seen what a piss-poor organization can do to a top-tier prospect like Sam Darnold,
Yeah.
And Arizona's betting on their own draft, and they're taking running backs at number 3 overall. Like, clearly they're not smart.
Yeah, they're following the Andrew Rivers playbook of player acquisition. I definitely think Kyler Murray is a good test of if Kevin O'Connell is actually that good. And because it's possible, you go get a guy that's so physically gifted as we're talking about Sam Darnold being. I didn't like Kyler Murray as a prospect. Like the reality is he's just so small. I didn't know about any of the off-field, and his off-field stuff seems very tame compared to someone we'll talk about in a little bit. But his
Call of Duty.
just like playing too many video games, which I do think it is. He did kind of reveal a thing about being a quarterback that you just kind of have to be like a psychopath. No great quarterbacks have ADHD, or if they do, they're heavily medicated. Like, these guys are in the film room a lot. These are essentially the governor, and the coach is the president of the team. Like, these guys are locked in all the time. And whatever you feel about Murray, there were a lot of really smart people thought that he would be a good prospect, and it didn't pan out. I think you'll be better than. I think that Minnesota team is very good, and as a person who owns Justin Jefferson in a dynasty league, I hope that somebody can get Justin Jefferson the ball this year. But my gut is that if Kyler Murray doesn't have like a pretty productive season and prove Kevin O'Connell to be this quarterback whisperer, I think O'Connell might be on the hot seat. But way back to that. I one thing about the spin rate that I thought was interesting and maybe speaks to why Darnold works in Seattle in particular compared to other quarterbacks is he talked about how, like, when the weather gets bad, you got to be able to drive the ball through the wind. And we don't get a ton of wind in Seattle, but we get a lot of rain, and we get some wind, and it's an outdoor stadium, and we have bad weather in the winter for football. And I also, like, he wasn't super impressive the second half of last year after the first Rams game last year. He and it wasn't even after, I guess it was the first Rams game on. He wasn't bad, but he was like an average quarterback, where the first chunk of the season he had been like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
And we'll have to kind of debate whether that was like a let Russ cook and then pull back kind of situation, because in the Rams playoff game, he certainly turned it on and had the ability to come back against a really good team. So
yeah, that's true. And he had a pretty good game. I mean, he had a couple turnovers, but he had a pretty good game in the game that they won in overtime. I mean, obviously his end of the game was better than any other part of the game. Well, we just got
lucky with a 2-point conversion. You know, obviously the refs, wanted us to win because everyone loves Seattle. Everyone knows Seattle's the market that the NFL loves and wants to win.
They fix it. You got to put the league's biggest market into the big game. You know, that's always what they want. I got a very old man. I don't know if this caught your eye as much as it did mine, but this is maybe an old man and a homeowner in me. The automatic robot that does the lines, dude. That was like that was my like highlight as an old man. I was like, that's amazing. Mind. Yeah,
it's so funny because you're like, oh, of course they have the Amazon robots, but I still thought for some reason there was a guy out there with a paint roller and. Because you see in baseball they're doing it the old-fashioned way, and so I guess I just assumed that was the same. But that was awesome. I couldn't believe that was.
And also, the first thing I thought was like, okay, that somebody, 1 or 2 or 3 people lost their jobs to that machine for sure. And then you're like, how? I mean, there can't be like
the grounds crew is just a guy smoking a cigar and
he's got a like a drone remote. He's got an app that he pushes. It's like I have a fucking vacuum at home that he's like, make sure there's no toys on the field.
The goal line up. The offense seems to be struggling. Let's.
I
a
also
joke that went viral. I don't know if you saw this. It was like the Cowboys stopped practice after finding white powder on the field. Turns out it was the goal line.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I thought I also was like, what's the market for these? That thing probably costs $1 million to
you want to get one
develop.
For the backyard?
Well, dude, I would love one for the backyard, but I bet it's $80,000. And you're like, how many guys lost their job for this machine that's $350,000? And how? Yeah,
I think that's a feature I can add to my Tesla. I'm not sure if you just pay extra for the markings.
It did make it seem like it is one of the team's pets. It had it with the dog. That was fun.
Yeah. They throw a bone and the robot. The dog is like, this used to be my job too. Yeah. Does the dog know not to shit on the field? That's what I was kind of curious about. Is JSN gonna tear an ACL stepping in dog shit and then slipping?
Yeah. That was a good dog. My dog would definitely shit on that field. There's no doubt about it.
Casey's out there. Sorry, practice. I gotta pick up the poop.
So then they have another fight-ish kind of thing that's featured pretty early. Mason Richmond and Riley Mills, both. I mean, names are kind of similar. One's MR, one's RM. Both like big ass white dudes on the interior line. One on the offensive, one on the defensive. I think it was Mason Richmond that hit Riley Mills, but I'm like now questioning it. I wrote it down.
No, Riley Mills elbowed him.
Okay, I thought it was a full punch, like an open-handed punch to the helmet.
No, I think it was an elbow. I think he gave him kind of like one of those, if I remember correctly.
Gotcha. And then so
there was a lot of extracurricular shoving after, and
gave
him that as like
but the shoving was after a punch that occurred on the play. Like while he was being blocked, he got punched, or he punched. He punched. Anyways,
maybe yeah.
Point is, just two generic, big, corn-fed white guys. They hold the same place in my mind. Now there's two of them. What if you're in that fight? Sledgehammer match, like the sledgehammer holding contest, that's fun. That doesn't make me feel better about getting punched in the head or elbowed in the head.
Especially when the guy who elbows me in the head beats me.
Right.
I mean, without, it wasn't like they were both shaking and let's see, oh my God, who's gonna, it was like very clearly at the beginning, one guy was like, oh, this is harder. And one guy was like, I'll be here all day, motherfucker. Yeah, I don't know that, I don't know if the point is discipline. I'm sure that, it's certainly a fun team building thing, and it is like you're gonna be maybe embarrassed and you got to perform for everybody, but
doesn't it seem like they're having a blast though, like as a team?
Yes.
This reminds me of, I remember having this feeling of jealousy it was probably like 2001 or 2002. I was watching MTV Cribs, and the Oakland A's, like young prospects, all lived in a house together. It's like Carlos Pena, Mark Mulder, maybe Tim Hudson, but like all these dudes, and they just were like fucking around the whole time they were off the field. And I was like, this is what they're doing in this whole like shadow boxing thing, which I'm glad they cleared up what that was, because they showed that in the first episode, and I was like, are they like dancing with each other? Like I don't know if you've experienced this shadow boxing game. I've never experienced, even that they showed it and explained it, and I couldn't identify a point being scored at any point in the whole time I was watching it.
Well, you're not going to get drafted for your quick Twitch reactions anytime soon. But yeah, the whole point is you get 4 ways to look: north, south, east, west, and then. But the point is the deception. It's like he brings his whole body down, but he's pointing up. So your mind goes, "Oh, the action is down there. Let me look up." But then everyone screams, and it's like, well, you lose points. So. But
then they said the offense. I guess the offense is the person that's making the. Anyways, the whole thing that I'm saying is they showed that on the first episode with no explanation, and it just looked weird. It just looked like Leonard Williams was having like a very intimate moment with an offensive lineman, or maybe with Mason Richmond. And
what are those crumping? Is that the dancing that the?
you've exited my realm of expertise by quite a bit.
The Jabberwockies, any of this? No.
But just at every stage, it seems like they're having fun. They did the dude. I don't remember which coach it was, but he did the mission over bull, and then he said mob is good all the time. Mob is good. This is like which, by the way, I don't know if every player on the team got this. That's a black church thing he was referencing, where they say God is good all the time. Yeah. God is good. This is something that like I've brought this up to. So I don't go to church, so like I've never participated in this, but I'm aware of it, and like
especially a black church.
I think I'd be more likely to go there.
You'd be more welcome. Yeah, you're invited to
take it easy.
From what I've heard.
But yeah, like a lot of I imagine. Sam Darnold's first exposure to God is good all the time was probably in an NFL locker room or in a football locker room for sure. But yeah, it just seems like
I did watch like Brock and Salk because I knew Brock's a religious zealot, and he was kind of teetering on, well, it's a little blasphemous of using the Bible and all, but if it's for the fun, it's but yeah, it's cute. I think what's his name climbs up Mount Rainier, and they've got to keep these people engaged. I think it's the walk and talks thing that they do. I want to see more in-depth stuff about that. Just the unique ways to get everybody to interact with each other.
Yeah, and the thing that I noticed is like in the way that I remember the stories of Pete Carroll being like he lets people be them, lets them express themselves. I was worried the Seahawks would lose that with Mike Macdonald, and I think one thing that's obvious from this is he certainly is out there, and he's probably stricter at practice than Pete was, it seems like. But he is letting, like, he hired people that are competent, and he lets them be great. And I think Pete was better at that with players than he was with coaches. Like, it seemed like with coaches, he had his thumb on the scale a little bit on both sides of the ball.
Wait. McDonald's kid isn't old enough to be the O-line coach yet, but you wait, you know.
Someday, little Jack McDonald is gonna be the failed offensive line coach. Yeah, that's. I mean, I think that's the overarching theme to me is McDonald had this reputation as a disciplinarian, I think, and he's a very serious guy. He's a very awkward guy, as he points out. And as it turns out, they're like having a ton of fun. It's just a little bit different. It's a notch. It's like, you know, the glasses test where you're like, this one's, you know, now it's a little more clear the way they're having fun, but it's still fun. It's just a little different than it was, you know?
How many times do you think Pete Carroll ever swore at his players? Gosh, gee willikers, Derick Hall, you're getting a little close to our quarterback there.
Dude, I was watching him because he was like, how about I'm running the fucking practice, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can't believe there's not more Latrell Sprewell, PJ Carlissimo events. And McDonald is, by the way, a big dude. Like, he's a jacked guy, but he's like 5'10". Derick Hall still towers over him. Like, Mike McDonald could crush me like a soda can, and Derick Hall could crush him like a soda can. Like, to have the
Derick
bravery and the buy-in.
50 million reasons not to crush his head coach, but yeah.
That's true. He's got 85 more trucks to buy.
And and Leonard Williams is even bigger, and both those guys were next to him going, hey, calm down over there, young pup. You be the warrior in the garden. The metaphor, man. You gotta be in the garden.
Yeah, Leonard Williams is like, he's gaining like mythical status, I think, for he's just so cerebral off the field. And he's like, by the way, like, I have a friend of a friend who works at Wizards of the Coast, and Leonard Williams came in and played Magic at Wizards of the Coast. He's like a big Magic the Gathering fan.
Wow.
That's the biggest fucking dude that's ever played Magic the Gathering, or at least the strongest version of a dude that big that's ever he's like, looks like a Magic the Gathering character.
There's somebody that weighs the same for sure, yeah. But this really you know, I was kind of on the team let him walk after this year, but this is really kind of opened my eyes to, I think he can play longer. It's interesting here, you know, you never hear these sides of the players before where he was like, I was thinking about retiring in New York, and like, I just wasn't having fun. I wasn't feeling like I could play well. And it's interesting, like, your mental health. And then this is like a guy who enjoys gardening, and like, he comes to the Pacific Northwest, and all of a sudden he's got a yard, he's got a ice bucket in his, he's got a, you know, he's like, oh, let me snip the little leaves and grow my tomatoes. And he's like, life is so amazing out here. I could just kill a motherfucker every Sunday, you know, so much easier. So I think he might be worthy of an extension after this season.
He seems like one of those guys like Richard Sherman who just are so bought into the region and are so embraced by the region that, like, he's from California, played his early days in New York, but it seems like he's going to live the rest of his life in Seattle. And maybe I'm wrong. I might be reading too much into the praise he was heaping on the city when he was on the show, but man, he sure seems to like it, and the city obviously likes him. And you get to see, like, kind of, he's like a little bit of a gentle leader in the most violent game in America, you know, outside of maybe hockey, but I think football's probably technically a little more violent on every play.
Beating Derick Hall over his head. He's like, hey, man, you know, there's no reason to kill a guy right now. You know, it's just preseason. Just preseason. Yeah, I got to learn that better. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to talk about the Terrion Arnold thing, but before, obviously the Mitch Johnson, the Spurs coach, He's shown in the office. They didn't really. It's possible they just cut out that was like heavily featured on the clips beforehand, and then everything they showed was just kind of the whole conversation. It was like, oh, like how was Victor Wembanyama? He's and I don't know if everybody made the connection to Jackson Smith and Jigba, but it was like, yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba feels like such an outlier among receivers who are typically these bombastic psychopaths, and he was like embarrassed to be recognized for getting a 99 rating in Madden. And I mean, I was watching with my wife. I'm like, I was watching it my second time, the first episode with my wife, and I was like, watch how embarrassed he is. And she's like, oh my God, he's like a child. Yeah. Yeah, he's so, it's adorable.
Yeah. That's cool. As opposed to league MVP Puka Nacua, biting people and saying slurs on streams and whatever. But I'll take it.
I said it on the last one. I do worry he's got like a Marvin Harrison quiet anger going on, where he's like we're gonna find out he's been murdering people.
He's Dexter behind the scenes. Yeah. Well, it was fun to see him banter with the coach a little bit. That was pretty fun. And you can see his personality. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. There's a photo that just came out of JSN at 1 a.m. at QFC in Issaquah. And everyone is saying he looks stoned. He just is. But his eyes are never really open. So I think that is just his mode, But it's him at 1 a.m. with a bunch of teenagers just going like, yeah, what's up, But then it's funny. It's like I was trying to figure out exactly what the argument or he wrote the thing wrong on the whiteboard, but he did it right in practice. Is that your takeaway from that?
Yeah, and it sounds like they're changing some stuff, and he's like, well, this is the way it was last year, so this is how I remember it, and now it's going to take me time to get the repetitions to remember it again. I mean, yeah, that was interesting. I mean, I will say, like, the
coach is like, stop fucking up, and he's like, I'm not fucking up. He's like, well, you wrote it wrong. He's like, but I did it right, and it's like this whole, and then he's like, at the end, he's like, I was just fucking with you the whole time, man. I don't know. And
there was a little father-son thing. The whole interview where he was talking about JSN right before that was like a little scripted. I think all this stuff is probably true, but who was he talking to? There was all the guys that he was around weren't even paying attention. Like, it was like, can you talk for 45 seconds?
You just get them in an interview and then you film them doing some wild shit that is the opposite of everything they said. And I'm here for the right reasons, and I love Stacy, and she's the most beautiful, and then he gets dumped, and he's like, I never gave a shit about you anyway. You're ugly. And, but it was very funny banter of like, he's the sweetest guy. We get along so well. And then he's like, I just told them, I just lied to them and said you're amazing, and now you're going to make me look bad, But I think it's cool, they know that they're being filmed and they're aware of it. Mm-hmm. And, there is a certain aspect of like, give us this soundbite so we can fill in our story,
The Terrion Arnold thing, obviously.
They've got to do some of it, obviously, because it's, they're filming everything. They're putting it out 5 days after they film it,
Yeah.
It takes Game of Thrones 8 years to make a new season, but, they're
making a cinematic documentary, like, as it's, like, they're it's that, like, building the boat as you're sailing. Like, it's, so the Terrion Arnold thing was interesting. I think that there's a part of me that's a little conspiratorial where I'm like, I think they're waiting to do the Devin Witherspoon thing. It's like, I think the agreement's already in place and they're waiting to do it on Hard Knocks. That's like a part of I'm not saying that is the case. I have a wonder about that, if that's like because it's one of the prevailing storylines from, they didn't talk about it that much on this one, but it's like one of the big storylines of the offseason. And then this Terrion Arnold thing, they kind of leave us on a cliffhanger, and we don't know, but I would imagine that there's a chance that like the final decision gets made on camera and gets revealed to us in real time, as opposed to finding out that they've signed Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold is a player. I like him a lot. The Seahawks are interested in him. He's connected to or was involved in a conspiracy to break and enter into a home of people that stole from him. It's kind of like the O.J. Simpson goes down for that. And I think most people, when they did that, they were like,
man who did nothing wrong.
Yeah. I think when he did that, most people were like, well, O.J., we kind of can relate to what he did, because it's like, and I think that the Arnold thing, to go back to the conversation about violence, is you're like, he's violent, but it's like, there's no place where a person who's violent is more accepted than football. And he wasn't violent against his girlfriend. He was violent against people who committed a crime against him. And yeah, he didn't like, it might be illegal what he did, but it's not something to me that is like indicative of a person who has just insurmountable personality flaws that they can never deal with at all. Has your feeling changed on Terrion Arnold as a potential Seahawks player since watching that?
Well, two things I think that are important to point out. He didn't actually do anything himself. He sent some friends to go beat up a guy. And the people that he went after are now allegedly the wrong people, or had nothing to do with the incident of, like, they stole some stuff from his Airbnb that he rents out, and he sent his buddies to go get that back. Now, he's working out for a lot of teams. When the Lions cut him immediately, I was like, oh, that's probably bad news. But now they're saying that there's a chance that he's going to get off easy, or he's going to get some kind of like, hey, this was all a big misunderstanding, and, we'll just say no harm, no foul. So, because I know he just worked out for the New York Giants today as well, so seems like a lot of other teams are taking a sniff. And so is this get as many good players as you can. I think he's more of a redundancy for a slot position, or, and cornerback might be the weakest, the DB room might be the most question marks we have on the team currently. So if he can help us win as a role player and then go get a big contract somewhere else next year, that seems good, as long as, they feel like they can contain him within. Now he's got, I think, several coaches coached with him at Alabama, and Jalen Milroe was his friend, and so several guys have now vouched for him. Maybe Leonard Williams can guided meditation with him in the garden. And so we can learn about shadow boxing, not actual boxing, instead of...
One thing I'll say about... So he is primarily a boundary corner. And without Reek Woolen here, I don't think the Seahawks necessarily have... Julian Neal is a rookie, and outside of Devin Witherspoon, I don't know that they have like a perfect... And I like Josh Jobe, but the Seahawks have kind of found these diamonds in the rough, and Terrion Arnold was like truly a blue chip prospect, like a guy that... he's a guy that you're like, shit, if they could acquire him in trade, having to give up a lot, you would have been excited about it until obviously the incident occurs. So
allegations.
The allegations occur. Whatever the don't sue us, Terrion. We're rooting for you. I will say I'm fully on board. If they get him, and this is an Andrew Rivers-esque cop out, but if they do sign him, I'm going to assume that they've done enough vetting that, like, I'm not worried about this specific kind of crime. There's no amount of vetting that I think I'd be like, oh, he punched his wife in the face, but he's, not a bad guy. But this feels like...
What did you do with your Frank Clark jersey? Did you ever get rid of that or take that off the wall?
They were like...
as a reminder to the wife, like, hey, listen...
On the episode, they were talking about Frank Clark, and isn't Frank Clark had shit in college? Like, on the episode, they weren't talking about Frank Clark. They were talking about when is the time we've had to deal with this kind of controversy.
Right.
And I'm like, don't you remember drafting Frank Clark and all the shit about him? Like, yes, you've had to deal with this before. This is not.
Hey,
and they haven't drafted a guy.
Yeah, see what other people have said so we know what to put out in the PR. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. Anyway,
you can just look at your recent history and yeah.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go get my kid but sign Terrion Arnold. Derick Hall isn't the villain they're making him out to be, and Sam Darnold can spin it.
And my only other takeaway was Marshawn is funnier than Adam Ray.
Oh,
I think we need
so much funnier.
more Marshawn.
I think we get Marshawn dressed up as Dr. Phil and bring the character back.
I have not, we love Adam Ray as a human. None of this Netflix stuff made me giggle much. So, I was looking forward to some fun Pete, John, or, some good Mike and John dynamic with Adam Ray being a weird character. And I was kind of confused about what's happening. I think they're both drunk off Hennessy. So,
I didn't watch a moment of any of the Adam Ray Netflix stuff. Maybe one day I will, but I was like too jealous. He's living my childhood dream. Can't bring myself to watch it. And also, Cal Raleigh struggled so much this year after I think they were like summer camp roommates all off season. And if he's gonna do that, don't do that to my dear Sam Darnold or my dear John Schneider or whoever.
Cal Raleigh, third worst batting average in MLB history.
All right. I'm going to end the podcast on that.